Alright, hello everybody. Welcome back to our Paranormal Magic Set stream. Today we are going to be working on Black Commons, plus whatever other people have brought to the table. So let me pull up the Discord and see what has been suggested. Okay, Arceus suggested a common red burn spell. Okay, so currently we don't have any research in red, but that doesn't mean that we can't have it. So, efficient burn versus other burn. I guess this would be the other. Maybe it's the efficient. I guess it's 1 mana, so that probably counts as efficient. Alright, instant. Okay, Arceus worded it as choose target creature. You get a research counter, then deal damage to the chosen creature equal to the number of research counters you have. Hello, Pie Guy. Happy Friday. How are you doing today? All right. Let's see. I think you could simplify this, though. I don't know why you couldn't just say you get a research counter, then deal damage to target creature equal to the number of research counters you have, or deal damage equal to the number of research counters you have to target creature. This one might be clearer. Doing well and excited to design some cards. Excellent! Me too! While we waited for people to get here, I was just going to go through the Discord, see what people had suggested, and make some updates there. So Arceus had just suggested this burn spell. Good morning, MacMoose. I think that the previous wording was based off Harness Lightning. That makes sense. It is a very similar spell, at least mechanically speaking. Yeah. I guess if we're going to have a symbol for research counters, like energy has a symbol, maybe it could make sense. Because it sort of spells out what they are on the card, and so delineating the two parts of the effect makes some sense. I don't know if we need it here. Nijuga said no ping. No ping. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Isn't research focused in Esper, so this won't do that much? That is correct. It's focused in Esper. That doesn't mean that it has to only be an Esper. I mean, you could be playing a blue-red deck that, you know, has some colorless synergies, but also it's got a few research cards, and this might not be a bad burn spell to throw in there, and that could be interesting. So I'm not opposed to it. I don't know that we need it. Oh, for the Discord. Thank you. I was thinking ping is in dealing damage because that is what we were working on. Hey Tessa, how's it going? So yeah, this is seems okay. But we could also come up with something different if that makes more sense. It does feel like a research payoff, and if the color is only going to use it occasionally, it could be a waste. I just have a hard time seeing this as efficient burn when red doesn't get research counters on its own as much. Yeah, Pie Guy, this is like a pre-made, Arceus made it, set file, like set skeleton. I'm not exactly sure what he meant by efficient burn, so I just went with cheap burn. But you don't have to match this up exactly to anything. So that just happens to be the slot that I picked for it. It's not a huge deal. Pinging the Discord that you're live. I mean, I thought we had that set up to go automatically. I have literally never... Oh, do you mean just like saying the word? Like, hey all, we're live on stream. Head to our Discord. I thought we had a bot to do that. Yeah, looks like it did that. Oh, okay. Yeah. I honestly don't know. I didn't handle any of the bot stuff, so I don't know how it works, although it is potentially something that I should look into learning. Hey, Wind, how are you doing today? All right, maybe red. Card name deals 2 damage to any target. Deal 3 damage instead if you control a colorless creature. Honestly, I think... Here's what I think is the case. I think that when I type !Discord and hit enter, I think that is what the bot looks for. So that's... probably is something that I need to do at the start of each stream. As soon as the bot in the Discord or in the stream sees that, then it messages the Discord. That would be my guess. But again, I didn't set it up, so I don't know. It's Me6. It's not complicated to figure out. Yeah, it's not that I can't figure it out. It's that I haven't had... I didn't set it up. I haven't needed to figure it out, really. So I can if that becomes a problem. Okay. Honestly, a basic shock would be really a good fit because of removing face-down creatures. That's a good point. Efficient burn is generally burn where you pay less than the damage dealt, as opposed to something like 5 damage can't be countered for 6 mana. That makes sense. That's sort of what I was thinking, because usually the efficient burn is the low-cost burn, I feel like. What about red? Card name deals 2 damage to any target. You may have red card name deal 2 damage to you. If you do, add red. Okay. So it's a shock that you can take 2 damage to get your mana back. That's an interesting card for maybe like a storm sort of archetype. Anyway, if we're going to have a research bolt, it should probably be in black. Probably. Yeah, I don't hate the idea of having like one random payoff in it, or not necessarily payoff. Maybe enabler and payoff does a bit of both in another color, just so that you can do a bit of research in, say, green, blue, green, white, if you wanted, but it wouldn't be like a huge theme. Sort of like in AFR, the venture into the dungeon is very much Esper themed, but green has some of the best venture into the dungeon cards, between Eliwick and the green legend who makes wolves. Anyhow, what about Bog Standard Bolt? Shock not bold. Bolt. Okay, Bog Standard Shock is what you're trying to say? Like Born of the Gods? Straight up Lightning Bolt is just too efficient for standard power level limited sets, at least at common. Yeah, I mean, we could probably make it work at uncommon, but it would still be real good. I mean, any set that's had, like, the 2 mana Lightning Bolts. Like, Theros had it at common, I think. That was amazing. Inefficient burn red. Sacrifice X research counters. That's it. That's the whole thing. 3 damage is now 1 red for an instant. Yeah. We could have slightly better shock. That's apparently kosher now. Nichugo, Tessa probably knows that. Tessa mostly just suggests things to be funny, which I appreciate. I mean, shock is totally fine, or maybe Pillar of Flame to answer undercovers. Ooh, Pillar of Flame. Let me see. Does that only hit creatures? I know it's sorcery speed. No, it's any target. Cool. How about 1 red, deal 2 damage, or deal 4 damage if you have X research. Deal 2 damage at instant speed. I mean, that'd be a pretty sweet payoff. The thing that other people were talking about was that red is not a research color, and we were talking about not even having any research in red or green, so that's why they wanted me to switch out the other one. If you want a one-off research payoff, I think an earthquake effect would probably work better. You're probably right. Something big. Instead of just a dumb little removal spell. I'm of the opinion that research shouldn't be at common in red and green. You know what? That is a reasonable take. Maybe if we wanted to have a payoff, it could be at uncommon or rare, so it's just like a little tiny bit. You'll get it once in a while, but definitely not a common. I think we can probably agree on that. Cool. Okay. So this was just me trying to go through the Discord and add the stuff while people arrived. We were going to work on... I was planning to work on black today, but we can honestly do whatever. We can keep working on red if you guys want. What do you think? Let's see. Three red, deal 2 damage to each creature without flying. Yeah. I mean, that's not quite the scaling research earthquake effect that people were talking about, but a 2 damage board wipe, 5 mana is probably a bit much, but 2 damage to everything at uncommon could be, great for dealing with undercover. Of course, we don't want to make it too easy to deal with undercover, because then it might not be worth playing at all, but that's not a bad suggestion. I'm good with whatever. Going in Wooburg order does kind of make sense for YouTube people / people coming in late, though. Yes, I do agree with that. It might be a little confusing for some people on YouTube who are like, did I miss the black one? Okay, so let's just do black. Cool. We've already, for black, we've done Undercover, which was 3 cards. And then we've probably done, a bit of research stuff as well. So let's take a look at what we've got. 1/1 for 1. When it dies, scry 1, and it has Undercover. So it's a bit of like a sacrifice. It's a guy to be sacrificed, is the idea. Since our white-black is kind of research aristocrats. I guess instead of... Oh, wait. We don't scry anymore. If it were going to do something like this, it could surveil. But we could just have it be like, you're researching. So when it dies, you get a research counter. To red, gain a research counter. Card deals 2 damage to up to X target creatures, where X is how many research counters you have. I mean, that could work. So then, by itself, it's dealing 2 damage to one creature, but if you have a bunch of others, you could hit more. That's not bad. What are the 4 black archetypes again? Good question. All right. Blue-black is a big research. So a big research is just sort of I was thinking that was going to be the one that was more like scaling indefinitely, so have, big, huge payoffs. Black-red was just sort of aggro. Black has access to exploit, and red has raid. Yeah, I think we decided on raid. It's been a bit. So just sort of aggressive, as black-red tends to do. White-black is aristocrats research, so sacrificing creatures and getting research out of the deal. And black-green is undercover, so face-down creatures. Big research. Blue-black gain 200 research counters. I don't think you're thinking big enough. Is 200 research counters really enough? My problem with all these red research burn spells is that red is not one of the core research colors. Isn't that willing subject again? Oh, it sure is. Sorry about that. I couldn't remember when I suggested it or changed it whether we had done that or not. Okay, so we have. Cool. All right. So yeah, then at 2 mana we have Willing Subject. It's a 1/1 for 2. When it dies, you lose a life, get a research counter, and draw a card. So it's a little worse than like an enter the battlefield, draw a card, lose a life thing, except it helps you get research counters. So seems pretty decent in the set. Repeatable research counter gaining is maybe not something we want to do at common, but we do currently have pay 2, sacrifice a creature to get a research counter on this 2/3 for 3. Clearly it should be blue-black. Gain research counters equal to the number of cards in your library. That way you can combo with a card that draws equal to your number of research counters. I like it. It's kind of been done in AFR, but you could make a Deadly Dispute, but with research instead of treasure. Oh, yeah. Right, it's the, village rights, or whatever it was. Where you, pay 2 mana, Altar's Reap, there we go. Pay 2 mana and sacrifice like an artifact or a creature to draw 2 cards. And in AFR, you get a treasure, but here you could get a research counter. Did we do that already? Did we do something like that? Maybe not. I don't think we did. This is what we had. So 3 mana as an additional cost to cast Forbidden Knowledge, sacrifice a creature, draw 2 cards, then create a 2/1 black horror creature token. So we had talked about maybe making the 2/1 tokens, a little bit prevalent in black, making it feel weird and different. Since tokens with non-square stats is uncommon, it feels a bit odd, which is what we're going for. Big research. Blue, black, gain research counters equal to the number of cards in your library, then draw X cards, where X is how many research counters you have. So if you started with any research counters, this card reads, lose the game, or win the game if you have Lab Maniac. Tokens also helps with aggro. So that's fair. Yeah, I think your suggestion is good. I do want to make sure that we're not only doing research in black, and so I think this is a cool way to do something different. Let's see, at 4 mana, we have a Manticore effect. So when it enters the battlefield, destroy a creature that was dealt damage this turn. It's a 2/2 flash for 4, but it has Undercover. So you can like block with it, or as a 2/2, you can block something too big for it, or a chump attack, and then when it dies, you just play it and kill the thing. Or of course, you can always just play it face up. We have Exacting Research. Here we go. This is actually pretty much the exact spell that Arceus was suggesting, but in red. But it's been a while since we made this, so that's why I didn't necessarily remember that we had it already. So you get a research counter, then target creature gets -X/-X till end of turn, which is the number of research counters you have. So this seems pretty perfect. It scales infinitely, which is like the blue-black theme. And it's just a decent common removal spell. It is, exactly, except the the black version. -X/-X instead of damage. Hey, Witvokarine, how you doing? Wind suggests for a rare, what about a card that effectively swaps your hand and graveyard? That wasn't there a mythic that did that in Strixhaven? I got to play it once. It was really cool. Without actually swapping them, so it just says you may play cards from your graveyard, but not from your hand. Demonic Tutor is a common. All right. It is a cool card. Oh man. I got it passed to me in a Strixhaven draft because, it's a very hard card to play if you're not strictly in Witherbloom. And I was. And so I was like, this is awesome. So I just played an attrition game, traded off everything, killed their stuff, and then late game, boom, got everything back. It was fun. All right, we have Shadowed Figure. This is one of our undercover spells that is a sorcery on the other end. So, you can play it as a 3-drop, trade off with it, or sacrifice it, or whatever, and then later on pay 4 mana to make somebody discard 2 cards. Seems okay. It's our Mind Rot. And we have Interrogate, which I'm a big fan of. It's just black mana. Single black. For target opponent reveals 1 or more cards from their hand. You choose one of them, they discard that card. For each card in their hand not revealed this way, they lose 1 life. So they could take a bunch of damage trying to keep specific cards secret from you. It's really up to them. You're interrogating them, you're trying to find out what they know, but it's really up to them what they share based on how much they want to get hurt. So, yeah, I'm really, really happy with this design. And Interrogate is Garthed. It is the card that our black Garthland makes. You may cast cards from your graveyard, but not from your hand. Whenever a creature you own dies, instead return it to your hand. If you would draw a card, mill a card instead. I mean, that's an interesting idea. I don't know that it necessarily goes with what we're doing, but in a set that cares about your graveyard more, it might be reasonable. I mean, I guess we have Surveil. It's weird because pretty much all my sets care about the graveyard a lot because I think that's just where a lot of the interesting design space is for me. But Interrogate is so cool, even if it feels like it isn't common power level. Probably more uncommon, I feel. We can move it to uncommon if people feel that way about it. I think currently all the Garthland spells are commons, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the case. It does never get your best card. I mean, if you... if you hit the opponent with it turn 1 when they still have 7 cards in hand... Ooh. I mean, yeah, they can just pay 1 life to keep their best card. Although, if they don't want... Like, if they can't afford to discard a land, they have to hide all of their lands from you. Plus, if they want to keep their best card, I don't know. A cool rare would be a creature that exploits to make casting spells from exile cost less until end of turn. Combos really well with undercover. Oh, that is really cool. Okay. While exploit is white-black, casting from exile is white. So, white rare? Something like that. Nerd. 2 red target player loses research tokens equal to the number of times you can punch them in 10 seconds. Get to it. That's, I mean, traumatic flashbacks, but it is quite funny. This complexity and the fact that it can be super swingy is the reason that I feel it might be best as uncommon. Yeah, you may be right, Pie Guy. Nijuga says, if you can't afford to discard a land, you probably only have like 2 lands. I mean, that's true. So then you'd have to pay 3 life to keep 2 lands in your best card. Oh, yeah, yeah, get to it is perfect reminder text. It's really funny. Maybe we should put that in a joke set. Not that we can actually encourage punching people, but you know. Okay, so this guy needs to not cost that much, right? Because if it costs a lot, how are you going to play other spells that turn? Oops. So it could just be like a 2-1 for 1. You can absolutely encourage people, punching people, sure. I can't. It's a personal issue. I've tried. It doesn't work for me. Not to tailor it to that, but Pauper has some pretty amazing turn 1 spells you can cast. Yeah, I could definitely see Interrogate needing to be a... It is also a Twitch terms of service rule. I mean, that makes sense. Well, Twitch, I was not encouraging it. One of my audience was, who I have... I don't know them personally or anything like that. Maybe it discounts for 2. Discounting by 1 feels kind of low. It does, doesn't it? Since you're already spending mana on this. Do we still want it to be like a 2-1 for 1? I feel like it needs to be pretty cheap in order to make this worthwhile. So... Discounts for X, where X is the first number you think of. Pi. 2-1 for 2. Beautiful. I think 2-1 for 1 is fine. Here it is a rare. Yeah, I feel like it should be fine. I don't know. This is a weird design. Because by itself, it's just a 2-1 for 1, which you get it uncommon all the time. If you actually do have stuff to cast from exile, it's basically ramping you 1 for the purpose. But you do have to exploit a creature. Make it cost 2, then the first spell cast from exile is on cost. Everything else can get real cheap. 2-1 for 1 is already pushed, though. I mean, it is a little pushed. But, I mean, you get them at uncommon in several, in many sets. With some upside. So rare, I mean, it is pushed. I'm not going to try and debate that. It's just a question of if it's pushed too far. I guess this would make more sense in black because black is the one that actually cares about undercover. So probably should move that. I was trying to just not put every single exploit card in black, but this one does make more sense there. Black. Is it the ability is fairly niche and Dauntless Bodyguard exists and is probably better? Generally that upside is a sack effect though. Bump up the mana cost, but then it costs X less to cast, where X is the CMC of the exploited creature. Okay, what would be the mana value of a face-down creature, though? Would that just be non-existent and therefore count as 0? Because part of the point of this is to combo with undercover creatures. Which, I mean, Tessa, that's not a bad suggestion. But I don't think it works with undercover, which was the point. I mean, we could bump up the cost and have this be the next spell you cast from exile costs a bunch less to cast. Two, 1 for 2, 3 less to cast, refund the price of undercover. Maybe the next spell is just free, but the card itself is 2 to 3 mana value. Making the next card totally free doesn't necessarily feel like something that you should get that easily. Yeah, you're spending a card and sacking a creature. I mean, you could just be sacking itself, so spending one card anyway. But yeah, I think reducing by a significant amount makes more sense than just making it totally free. X less to cast, where X is the CMC of exploited creature. If exploited creature is undercover, X is 200. Okay, I think this is a pretty decent design. It's very imbalanced, unless you make it blue or green. All right. Exploit undercover crossover card. All right. It's pretty cool. It is. I'm not gonna lie to you. All right. So, back on track. Let's hit up the commons. Call this thing Mask Stitcher. I mean, it's better than what I put. Making the next card totally free does feel more splashy, and it's slightly more balanced by the fact that you won't be able to cast anything till turn 4 generally. It's a good point. We just have to be very careful what our undercover spells do then. Like, you know, if we have some massive bomb that just wins the game, and costs like 8 mana, this would be a really powerful way to get it for free. I mean, it does require a lot of moving pieces. Maybe. I mean, you have to sacrifice a creature, but it is a creature, so it could sacrifice itself. So really the main moving piece that it needs is that you're able to cast a spell from exile. Could just make it cost 10 less, then they still need to pay colored costs. It's a good point. He unveils more than he hides, so the mask part doesn't gel well. Yeah, I do agree with that, since when they're no longer undercover is when they're losing their masks. But I guess possibly what Nijuga was suggesting is that this guy's taking the remnant masks and stitching them into something else. Can we make it 13 less for a flavor number? I don't see why not. costs X where X is 1. Freer of faces, you say? I mean, why don't we just streamline that and go with taker of faces? Or, you know, even better, the face taker. And you know what? This guy sounds pretty sweet. We could make him legendary. We could give him like a legend name, like maybe Ishmael. Just something interesting like that. The face taker. Yeah, isn't that cool? Gotta be a warlock. This dude sounds awesome. I want to be this guy. Okay, well, what do you guys think of this design? It's a little, you came up with it all by yourself. You're amazing. Yeah, I sure did. Wind, it can't be a mutant because it doesn't have abilities and stats that change based on whose turn it is, which is how we are identifying our mutants in this set. Just real idiots. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's solid. I definitely agree the first version wasn't as splashy and so not as exciting of a rare to open. So like this is splashier. You could do cool things with it. So we need to make sure that we have some undercover spells that cost a lot, that combo well, but would still be fair to play mostly free with this. And very off kilter. Yes, I agree. It's very different. The face taker sounds like it could be a shapeshifter. You're right. This is all an inside joke that Tessa and I have, so I apologize for that. I think the Unveiler, some sort of Unveiler makes sense. Can we make rare that is a vanilla 1/1 for 1? I don't want to do that. Isn't that the face taker? Sure, we could. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be legendary. Again, I was just joking. Also, probably need to be careful of X cost undercover spells. Now I just absolutely want to do one, right? It can be legendary without legend name. That's true. I mean, that's what we did for... we had that in Yeldavar. We had a mono-black legendary creature that was just a the something. What was he? He was trying to destroy all the gods and all of the people trying to become gods. I don't remember. All right. Seems pretty cool. We can quibble over names later if we need to. But the important thing is that we got the card done, and this is pretty cool. So the question then becomes... the Mythbreaker. That was it. Yes, thank you. Or, yeah, it could have been... it was something along those lines. The guy was cool. But yeah, this sort of has similar vibes. So I guess we want to look back at our undercover cards at common and be like, how does this work with those? This lets you cast a Mind Rot for 1. It's not a super exciting combo. Flash and Nightmare Stalker for 1. It's fine. And this one is... you get nothing out of this one. Lore Breaker, thank you. That dude, oh man, that was pretty cool. Big Green Worm. Sorry, you said something about Big Green Worm. Isn't that Big Green Worm? Oh, yes. That's what you were talking about. I wasn't sure what you meant. There we go, this guy. So the face taker could be a reason for changing this to 5 in a green, or it could be a reason for keeping it at 4 green, depending on how strong we think it will be to get this 7/6 out for very cheap. It sure is a decent hit. So let's see. You play this turn 3. I guess turn 5, you could play the face taker, sacrifice this, and then play this for just 2 mana. Yeah, 3 and 2. So this would get... I mean, I would get this to out a turn earlier. It's not busted. It's a little strong, but I think that's what it should be, right? Or 5 in a green lets you play it on 4. I do want to become famous. Wow, all the bots are here. I always forget how to ban. Ban, there we go. It's actually not that hard. And, stop moving. Got it, okay. Good to go. Whew. Yes, Mech Boost now, before it was 4 green, so you couldn't play it till turn 5, because you need the 3 mana for the face taker, plus green and green. But with this, you could play it on turn 4, which is, honestly, I mean, if you get a rare that tells you to do something sweet, and you'll get a big payoff, we need to make sure that the payoff's there. So I think, while this would be very good to do on turn 4, is it busted? I don't think so. And so I think I'm okay with making this 5 in a green. If it was 5 green, ramping out a 7/6 on turn 4 isn't the end of the world, especially since you need to high roll with both cards in hand and removal still works. Yes. Yeah, and I mean, this is a 7/6 with no abilities, effectively, once it's out. So it's not like it's going to trample over you for the win. You can jump block it until you find the answer. It has no sort of protection. If you can find something that will kill it, it's probably going to work. Not any more busted than playing some big demon. Yeah, so that's cool. This is a really cool design. I like that suggestion for the face taker. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I know who this is. This is Osb. Three black, 2/2 undercover. When Oops is cast from exile, sacrifice all creatures you control and then gain 2,000 research counters. Oh. Everyone's favorite neighborhood friend. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with this guy. He has no problems. Everyone loves him. Okay, I mean, Tessa, that's not necessarily a bad suggestion. Let's, like, we could do a rare in white that's like 3 white, destroy all creatures. You get, I mean, if we want to get really ridiculous, you get that many research counters. That seems like a lot to be getting for one card. But it could be something along those lines anyway. 200 research tokens then. Oops, hold on. I just realized how glad I am this is a standalone set. Proliferate with research counters could be gross. Yeah, I'm always happy that I don't necessarily have to design based on everything that else that exists. I do generally try and design such that, the way that WotC would, but I don't have to worry about keeping everything safe with all the 100 previous sets that exist. Maybe like that Kaya-Wrath where you only get a research from the creatures destroyed that you control. Then, for each creature you control destroyed this way, you get a research counter. Could be something like that. Ooh, ooh. That's a spicy one, Wheat Volcarine. Destroy all creatures. If you have X research counters, instead destroy all your opponent's creatures. Count control. 5 white, black, destroy all permanents. You or your opponent controls gain research counters forever. From carpet bombing to precision striking, basically, because they mastered whatever magic can do this. It is quite strong. Yeah, so a lot of the thresholds that we've done for research counters in the past, not that we've done that many, has been 3. So I was thinking maybe white-blue is more focused on getting 3, although they're more control-y, so maybe they should be more the go-big one. Maybe white. Anyhow, I don't know. 3 seems like it could be pretty low. We've had a lot of ways to get research counters, so we could go higher. One-sided routes tend to not be that fun. Probably needs to be at least 6 and or have a higher threshold. I feel like 3 research isn't going to be that hard to pull off for a one-sided wipe. I mean, that's true. We can go higher. Well, we've been putting in a lot of ways to get research counters. My idea was that they wouldn't be ridiculously easy to come across. So, like, you would still have to work to get 3. It's not like every card in your deck is going to be able to provide you with this. But definitely, this how effective this card is definitely contingent on just the prevalence of research counters on other cards. Maybe 6 or 7 mana too. Oops. You'd still be way more likely than not to have 3 by the time you want to cast this. I mean, it really depends on... I don't think that that's a blanket true statement, but it's a complex enough issue that you know, I can't say one way or the other. You may be right, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be as easy to pull off as you guys may think it is. I like the idea that at most you get 1 counter per spell. I don't think we should have cards that generate lots of research. I think you're right. And while I've designed a few cards that can get them repeatedly, I think that may not be the direction that we want to go with it. It might not be easy to get 3 unlimited, but constructed would be able to build around. You're right. You're right. And while I do mostly just build these for limited purposes, theoretically it could be used in constructed, and we should probably design as though it could be. And since, like energy, there's nothing that lets you remove your opponent's research counters, that could be quite strong. I mean, if we just don't like the design of the card too, that's okay. Shoot, it doesn't have to have anything to do with research counters. It could be an instant speed board wipe. There aren't many of those, so it'd have to cost a lot. Maybe I feel like there was Hour of Revelation. Was that instant? No, it wasn't. Okay, so yeah. could just do something like that. Something completely different, unrelated to the themes of the set, just something different. Instant speed if you have research. Okay. Fated Retribution, thank you. And then if you do cast it as not an instant, then it, like, you scry 2, I think. Yeah, destroy all creatures and planeswalkers if it's your turn, scry 2. Route can be instant for +2 mana, right? And that one costs... I know. Where is it? There we go. So route is 3 white. Destroy all creatures, they can't be regenerated. You can play it at instant speed if you pay 2 more mana. So it's flexible. 5 mana destroy everything, or 7 mana instant speed destroy everything. We could maybe design a black card to drain counters from people. We could. Yeah, that may not be bad. I'm not all out opposed to the idea of being able to remove your opponent's research. You know, it could be like Ransack Lab or something like that. All right. Okay, so then we could just be 3 white. 3 white, sorcery. Destroy all creatures. And then I guess it would be before that. Seven mana border wipe that costs less for each creature you control. Goes down to white if you're willing to give up 4 creatures. Well, I mean, you'd be more willing with Undercover. And in just white has it's a sacrifice theme anyway. I don't think it should remove all the research, at least not once. No, I agree with you, Gunblade. I was thinking more like a cantrip that's just like 1 mana or 2 mana, draw a card, and, you know, remove 1 research from an opponent. Or each opponent, I guess. Okay, so instant speed board wipes are, of course, very good. So this one at least is not one-sided, so it destroys everything. But, you know, you can wait till your opponent's end step after they've dropped a, you know, they're ahead on board, they're trying to press the advantage, they attack you, you know, second main phase, drop a big thing to just keep the pressure on, and then you wipe it all out. That'll be very good. So, again, I don't know. Is 3 or more too low? Are you ready for sacrifice? One white target player must play the cinematic sacrifice quest in Warframe or lose the game. Could be a generic, remove 1 to 2 counters from target player. Yeah, that could be it. It doesn't even have to be a cantrip. So you are spending a card to remove research, which is... Obviously, you're losing out a lot on that deal, too, so it might be worth it. Black, target opponent loses a research counter, loses 1 life, and discards a card. Yeah. Might be 2 mana for that effect. So energy and experience could use some counterplay. Put it on the shock. Okay, so red is opposed. Okay, that's pretty cool. So, where's the shock? Here we go. Wouldn't go on... I mean, yeah. I do like Pillar of Flame as a reprint because it does just one and done deal with undercover spells. Deal 2 damage to any target. If a player is dealt damage this way, remove 2 counters from them. Stolen research, 2 red. Target player loses 1 research counter. You gain 1 research counter. Target player is allowed to claim a thief and goblin for the rest of the game. All right. Okay, there's a lot of suggestions here. Let's just copy this. Target. If a player is dealt damage this way, they lose 2 research counters. Boom. And this would not be called Pillar of Flame anymore. Ransack is probably a name, huh? It is. And Ransack the Lab is also a name. Ransack the archive. Boom, it's a place. Make it just remove up to 2 counters? Oh, up to 2 counters, as opposed to research counters. That way it can hit energy. But so you're saying it could remove any 2 counters that the player has. It could remove poison. It could remove experience counters. Okay. You could hit yourself to remove poison. This could be an actually good card in infect matchups. Means we need an infect creature in the case files. We sure do, don't we? Okay, let me open that up. Yeah, so we could go with something themed more to this plane, like Academic Sabotage or Smash the Experiment. But if we wanted to be able to remove literally any counters, including experience, including poison, I figure it's best to just be something generic that, like, literal burn spells could burn poison, right? Where's the case files? There we go. Gunblade, we already did, but we certainly do now. Yeah. Infect. Okay, put that down. Chemical burn. Chemical burn helps your infection. Ruthless ransacking. Burn notice. I do kind of like burn notice. It's kind of funny. And instead of a notice informing you that you've been burned, it is literally burning a notice. That's a reference to a movie. Yeah, it's a show. Burn to the bone. 5th degree burn. All right, so that's cool. All right, back to black. What were we doing? Yeah, we were talking about. I guess we hadn't done much since the rare. Oh yeah, then we did the one-sided board wipe. We got really off track. Purging Flame. Purge. That is definitely the feel that I was going for. We're very good at getting distracted. Yeah. That's okay. I mean, we're coming up with some cool stuff. I'm not opposed to it. I was just trying to keep track of what we were supposed to be doing next after this got done. I'm going to go get dinner. Gunblade Knight, keep these people in track until I come back. Yeah, well, it's sure not going to be me doing that. All right. Spark of Madness, 3 red, lose X research tokens, then deal X damage to target player. So yeah, so you could turn it all into like a giant nuke. If you have a bunch. That would be like a red-black finisher, maybe. That's kind of cool. Bold of you to give me any form of responsibility. All right. We have in our budget a single red research payoff. Okay, we don't want to go too in depth on it because it's not meant for red, but and I don't know if this really even works, but we can at least write it down because I don't dislike the idea. If you're going for a red-black finisher, a pump spell might work better for the aggro theme. You're not wrong. Then should it be green? I mean, red can pump. But like black-green, I don't know. What do you guys think? I guess the red version could just give power. We could either go instant, or it could be like a sorcery, but also give them like first strike. Anyhow, it's a reasonable thought. We don't have to spend too much time on it. We can always come back to it later once we are going through the rares. All right, so we need 1, 2. It would only target one creature, but give it first strike and trample. I mean, I feel like if it's your one big payoff, though, for research, you want it to hit all your creatures, right? It might cost more then. Maybe we should make it cost a lot more. I don't know really what this effect is worth. Depends on if you want to go wide or go tall. Give it double strike, trample flash, and you cast pacify on it. I feel like it may be pretty limited for a rare since red has limited access to research. This is a rare that does nothing by itself. Yes, there will be. Yes, it is definitely a rare that does nothing by itself, and that can be bad. But I don't hate the concept of having one of those that is you do have to build around, and it can do nothing otherwise. So, while we're not putting research in red, it can be kind of interesting to have one card that like pays a bunch in red that pays a bunch of research. You're getting rid of it, don't need it anymore. You're using it, and so it does sort of have that opposite feel where it's like instead of building up and keeping the research, it's just like gone. Nothing with most of its own colors. Yes, that's true. But it sort of diversifies what you can do in different colors. And while I do think that having themes in each color pair, having strong themes is good, I also think it's very important to be able to go off those rails. And obviously, you can't have too many cards that do that. But letting people sort of explore different stuff and put together decks in ways that, are not necessarily the main themes, that's what people really like and remember about a draft format. Yeah, I mean, you might just end up splashing it in a different deck. And for that reason, maybe we want to make it a little harder to cast, so you do have to have a bit more work involved in splashing this, making it good. I don't know. I do not want to spend too much time on this right now. I do want to actually get to trying to crank out the black commons. But the reason that we get so distracted is when people suggest stuff, I do want to, if I think it's a good idea, I do want to put it down somewhere so that we don't lose that. So, I guess I'm telling you that if I didn't put your thing down somewhere, I probably didn't think it was a good idea. But don't read too much into that. All right. So, trying to get back on track, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 black creatures to make, and 1, 2, 3, 4 black non-creatures, which adds up to 10. We need to make 10 black commons. And most of them have a sort of general idea of what a card would do in that slot. But we don't necessarily have to stick to that. Okay, so for black, we have 1 removal spell that's based on research. And we have 2 more slots for removal. We don't have to do 3. At least 2, though. So black pretty much always gets a big 3 to 6 mana just flat out destroy target creature spell. Obviously, the worst ones are like 6 mana sorceries, but some sets do have those. I think there's a balance to be found. I don't think that every set has to have the most efficient murders and stuff. But this should probably have the words destroy target creature on it. Maybe an edict. Oh yeah, we could do an edict. Oh wait, hold on. I was doing it on the wrong one anyway. This is the unconditional. This is the conditional. Yeah, so edict. Didn't you go eat dinner? Stop correcting me. All right, yeah. So each opponent sacrifices a creature. Conditional can be an edict. Yes. Yes. So, do we want it to be something special? I think it's like usually 2 mana for an edict, like at sorcery speed by itself, right? This would usually say like target opponent, but there's really little downside to putting each opponent instead of target opponent. It's really only overpowered in Two-Headed Giant, which I do prefer for my pre-releases, but don't really play it otherwise. Gain a research for each permanent sacrifice this way. I mean, so in a commander game, this has the potential to net you probably 3 research. So are we okay with that? That would instantly turn on all of the things that care about having 3 research. I mean, we can always make those things care about 5 or, whatever number we want. But also, actually, I don't want to do something relating to research because we already have a removal spell that gives you a research. And while research is one of Black's themes, it is only one of, well, it's 2 of Black's themes. But we don't want every card to be doing that. So if we were to make this one give you research, I would want to make this one not give you research. And since I really love the design of this card, it might be a high bar to clear. What is Black-Red's theme? Aggro. The idea being that you have lots of cheap creatures, and you can use those with raid and exploit to good effect. I'm going to get some water. I'll be right back. Oh, Raid Edict. We should do some black raid cards. Thank you. That's a good idea. I guess we had talked about raid being in just black-green. Just red-green. Because black has access to undercover and research. And what is our fourth mechanic? I probably remember what it is. Exploit. Thank you. Yeah, so we talked about cutting raid from black because it has all of the others. Raid-on enters the battlefield. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. So we don't have to do that. I mean, we can give black access to everything if that's what we want to do, but just need to be aware that that's what we're doing. I mean, if nobody else has a problem with black having access to all of the mechanics, it doesn't have to be a huge deal. It's just something that, we would want to be aware of. Could put the conditional removal on the 5 or 6 mana creature with exploit. They can always exploit themselves, or be a 6 mana 3/3 and sacrifice something else. Ooh, okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying the 6 mana value creature would be the unconditional removal. Oh, you're saying conditional removal. I think uncommon should have a Merciless Executioner for exploit. Okay. Exploits. When card name exploits a creature, each opponent sacrifices a creature. And this would be 3/1 for 3. It doesn't have to be. Merciless Executioner style. But I'm just putting down the ideas. Hey, Starhaste, how you doing? Target player sacrifices a creature. Then you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, that player sacrifices 2 creatures instead. Wow, okay. So that would be pretty strong. All right. Unconditional is what you meant. Sorry. Okay, cool. So it would be something like exploit. When this dude exploits creature, destroy target creature. Then yeah, it could be like a 3/3 4 6. It always targets you, Nijuko. If it's then you do, it would be they sacrifice an additional creature. Yes. Oops, I put this in the wrong slot. There we go. Dude. Alright, so then you're suggesting as the conditional removal, each opponent sacrifices a creature. Then you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, each opponent sacrifices an additional creature. Okay, so there's 2 cards I can think of that are kind of analogous to this, which are Dead Drop, which is a delve spell. At uncommon, in Cons of Tarkir, it costs 10 mana, 9 into black with delve, so it could cost as little as 1. For target player sacrifices 2 creatures. So generally, I mean, you're going to be playing that for 5 mana, maybe. Or Turgrid's Shadow, which is each player sacrifices 2 creatures. And that guy costs 5 mana for an instant. So how much would this cost based on that? I would put that edict in every commander deck. Or yeah, this one's ridiculously good if it's at 3 mana. I think 3 is too little. I mean, remove 6 creatures for 3 mana to do. Yeah, I think there is a creature that when it dies, each player sacrifices 1 or 2 creatures. Oops. I can't think of what that creature would be. I would believe it exists, but I'm not sure I remember it. All right, so this gives you information of what they have sacrificed before you have to make your decision. So it's a bit different than if you had to sacrifice a creature as an additional cost to cast it. So that's interesting. Abyssal Gatekeeper, you say. Ah. Hold on. 1/1 for 2. When it dies, each player sacrifices a creature. That includes you. So you're losing 2 creatures out of the deal. That one's not good. I mean, maybe if you want stuff in your graveyard. But... Okay. So if we have an unconditional removal on a creature, we don't need it on a non-creature. We have our small removal, and we have conditional removal here. We could also use some exploit targets. We do have 2. So we have Willing Subject, which is a 1/1 for 2. When it dies, you draw a card, lose a life, and get a research. And we have Acolyte of... Osb. Who is a 1/1 for 1. When it dies, surveil 1. Or it has Undercover, so that gives you effectively 2 creatures to sacrifice. And of course, we have 2 other Undercover cards. We have Nightmare Stalker and... yeah, Shadowed Figure, which is a Mind Rot on an Undercover body. Or we have Forbidden Knowledge, which... oh, I guess you have to sacrifice a creature to get a creature, so never mind. Forget that one. So we have a few good targets. When card name is exploited, copy any ability triggered by it being exploited. That's interesting. Nightmare Stalker says Night Terror in its rules text. I don't see Nightmare Stalker. Oh, Night Terror. Oh, in the file. Right, that's our card. Okay, so confused. Thank you. I see. It's probably because I copied the text at some point. I appreciate that. I thought that was so random. What are you talking about? So I was looking it up on Scryfall, trying to figure out which card you meant, but it didn't come up. Yes, I agree. When the exploit copier does, because it's so much more complex, it's not really a common design. So I guess, do you think that we have enough creatures that can function as sacrifice fodder? We have at least 2 commons, and then 2 more undercover cards, which you definitely don't care about sacrificing. We could make another thing that gives you 2 2/1s. How about that? Oh, right, yeah, because black doesn't have to be self-sufficient in the sacrifice fodder by itself. Yeah, white can help, red can help. Those will probably be the two main colors that do. Raid make tokens? Are you saying on like the sorcery spell that creates the tokens? We could add raid, but we also need the card to do something if you don't have raid. White black was research aristocrats. How about exploit aristocrats? Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that was the implication. But yeah, I mean, they can both have access to research without necessarily focusing on it. It probably is closer to what we're going for anyhow. Could do a card similar to the second half of Shot's Will. Exile all cards from all opponents' graveyards, then create X 0/1 black Thrall creature tokens, where X is the greatest power among creature cards exiled this way. So you're exiling stuff to create tokens, but instead we would be creating 2/1 tokens. We need an exploit card that gets stronger if you have 3 research. So it would be like a crossover card. It's not a bad plan. Feels like an uncommon. Something like a domes an opponent for 2 and you exploit, but it's 5 if you have research or something. Common. I need a name for this. Four mana value, you say. Okay, so you're saying exploit. Then Graveyard Hate is generally something I like to include one piece of, especially if you have any recursion. And since this set has Undercover, you can bring the cards back to hand. If you can bring cards back to hand, they're very efficient, get lots of creatures out of it, which is why I mentioned the other card. Okay, so yeah, I agree. Graveyard, being able to exile stuff from players' graveyards is pretty important. I mean, we could make this... Yeah, and then this would be like 3 and a black. Creature. It would have to be like... I don't know, it could be 4/2. I don't know. 4/2 is good. Okay. All right. Mech Moose will get to the exile from graveyard thing next. Just want to make sure that this card is good before we move on. Anybody have any thoughts on it? Scream Extractor. And we could put Randall on here. I don't know, when you say it like Scream Extractor of Screams, it sounds kind of silly to me. It feels like you're trying to be a cartoon villain. But I don't know, maybe that's just me. And like I said, name's not too important. Sillyfying. So, as long as we have a name so that we can sort of distinguish the cards, that's what's important. So, cool. So, it could be 4 mana, nuke an opponent for 5 life. Okay, so then white-black is the research pair that only cares about having 3 counters because it's more focused on aristocrats. Is that a good way of thinking about it? Tractor of Screams horror vehicle creature. All right, cool. So that one's good. Now, Mech Moose was saying that it's important to have something that can exile cards from graveyards. And I agree with that. So how do we want to do it? So instant speed graveyard exile can be important for if they're like in the middle of targeting a spell in their graveyard or a card in their graveyard, boom, it comes down, you exile it, and then they get nothing. Whereas sorcery, it's more proactive, which means it's less valuable. Not necessarily worth a whole card most of the time. So, I mean, we could put, if it's sorcerer speed, we could put it on a creature, like as an enter the battlefield effect. If it's a non-creature, we could just make it an instant. But do we want it to do something else in addition? We have potentially a raised dead effect. Yeah, it seems like something we would want. And potentially a positive aura or combat trick. Either instant speed, single target, or sorcery speed, mass removal. Yeah. Okay, what about is how I generally do it. Okay. That makes sense. I guess this card that I made kind of counts. It's actually a creature. So this should be in a 4-drop slot, which we already filled 2 of. I mean, we could change this one. Maybe we could just tack it onto this. Then create 2/1 black horror creature tokens. So it's effectively a 5 mana creature spell that exiles a graveyard. So it's sorcery speed, so it hits the whole graveyard. That would take our 5 mana creature place. Which I guess means that I should cut it from here and put it there. Oops. And that would be 4 and a black. Ah! What have I done? There we go. Okay, cool. Which does give us a bit more room for other things, because we were sort of running out of space in the non-creature area. All right, we want a positive aura or combat trick. I mean, we probably just honestly need something not splashy, not necessarily having to do with our mechanics directly, but create a number of 2/1 horror tokens equal to the number of creature cards exiled this way. Yeah, Star Haste, so we could do that, but that would make this card probably a rare, at least an uncommon. And it's not too much. We could do it. It's just it cannot be a common, because at that rate it could just be way too good. So if we want that effect, we would just have to bump it up. So what does everyone think on that? What do we need, Nijugo? All right. Pulling up my black spreadsheet just so that I don't miss anything. I guess we need a vanilla. We haven't done one of those. Let's see. We need a menace creature. I don't think it should be total number exiled. Okay, Mechmoose is against that. I mean, from a flavor perspective, it makes sense. However many creature cards you exile is how many turn into horrors. But yeah, just from a power level perspective, it's not a common. We need an unholy indenture. All right. Well, let me look up unholy indenture. I know. Oh, let's see. When it dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Oh, because that works with undercover cards. So you put it on your face down 2/2, and when it dies, it comes back face up. Okay. Okay, I like it. So that would probably be our positive aura / combat trick. I do like the idea of it being an aura, so you have to be proactive with it, and the creature could be removed in response. Because it does seem quite good, so it needs to also have a downside. Do we have any perfectly normal cards? Perfectly normal. I don't, like in black? Oh yeah, we have, in white we have the flock of normal birds. Starhay says, maybe exile 4 cards from each player's graveyard. You mean instead of exiling all cards from target player's graveyard? They're definitely 100% normal birds. Oh, yeah, if we want to go with the joke, with the real world joke, then the flock of normal birds is definitely an artifact creature, right? I mean, it starts out, so when you play it face down as a 2/2, that's when it looks like a flock of normal birds, and then it comes out and it's secretly a drone. I don't know. I just like the idea that the organization is keeping tabs on something that's actually perfectly normal, but they're so paranoid that they believe it's something sinister. That's funny. They can't fool me. Birds aren't real. I like that a lot. I mean, if we had a vanilla creature, we could explain that whole thing in its flavor text. Or we could probably fit the flavor text, a summarized version, into something that does have an ability. I thought the joke was that people think they're evil horror birds. I think when I named it, my joke was that they are masquerading as normal birds when they are not, in fact, normal. But honestly, we could have the joke go the other direction, which is that the government or the organization won't accept that they are normal. But they are totally normal birds. Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, I did it again. Clicked on style instead of set info. I have so many frames, it takes a while to realize to load it all. Move along, nothing to see here. Yeah, so what would be an example of something that feels sinister but is normal? Or, I mean, we could just have it be some kind of animal. Black cat's already a card. Here we go. Okay. Just leave it unexplained and have the art be normal birds as well. That's a good point. Let the reader draw what conclusion they will. A tree? Perfectly normal tree. Normal tree. Should those be our basic lands? So let's see. Where is it? There we go. It's still a basic land forest, but it's called normal forest. I guess technically that is a different basic land than a forest, so it increases, the different types of basic lands there are. It's still 5 basic like subtypes, but different named ones. Or we could have the vanilla creature for each color be perfectly normal X. That's true. That would be cool. That would be a great way of flavoring them. Now, we don't have to do vanilla creatures. WotC has moved away from doing them every set, but I do not hate that at all. Or the undercover common creature. That flavor would work as well. What do we have here? Okay, well, these black ones are not perfectly normal. We could make them so. Taking up a slot for a vanilla creature feels like a wasted slot. Whoa. Perfectly normal cultist. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Can't just do it like AFR and have flavor text on your basic lands to make them seem weird, but be normal. That's a good point. Okay, what's blue? Let's see. We have Containment Writer, which for some reason keeps not wanting to do the undercover reminder text, and it has to do with its name, and I'm not sure why. Okay. Containment Raider. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a super flavorful name anyway. I don't know, looting the containment. Who cares? So it could be like. Don't we have two? Oh, you're right. We have 5 mana value creature. Well, I wonder which one's going to become a perfectly normal thing. Is it Muldrifter a thing on this plane? I guess they kind of have access to things from other planes, maybe. Totally normal fish. We do have the aberrant carp, which you could either see as filling the same aesthetic space because they're both fish, or you could see it as complementing it because this is a weird fish and this is a totally normal fish. Guys, it's just a Muldrifter. Totally normal 5 mana creature. Yeah, fish always cost 5 mana, right? Okay, red and green. Yes, okay, red we have some kind of rioter. That doesn't seem like a good name. Or, what's the other one? I know we did 2. Or 1 mana value creature. He's also definitely probably some kind of rioter. I don't know which one you want to change. This one attacks each turn if able. I guess that feels kind of beastly, huh? Or totally normal anarchist. I prefer the flavor text. Don't feed the fish. I do like that. Except, I mean, all the other flavor texts are like, it's okay, don't worry about it, it's fine. Totally normal anarchist. Totally normal person. Creature shapeshifter. Something feels off here. Yeah, it'd be funny if there was one thing that's actually normal. It's a vanilla creature. And the flavor text is, there's just something wrong about that guy. But there is nothing wrong about him. He's fine. That's it. It's just a guy, you know? It doesn't have to be totally normal. Yeah, I mean, ordinary anarchist. Or if we still want to stick with normal, could just be office temp. Yes, the vanilla creature. Okay, this one, I wanted to get rid of that anyway. Because it's repeatable research counters, which we decided we weren't as interested in. Have that flavor of text to be on the token for undercover. We could do that. I mean, if we want to do it like the morph tokens, we'll put the rules text for undercover, which will take up most of the space. So then it might be weird to also have a line of flavor text under it, but we also don't have to. The cards do explain how they work. Office temp should be shapeshifter. I thought the joke was that it was the actual vanilla creature where there's nothing wrong, there's nothing weird. And it's just people's paranoia getting the best of them. Citizen. Yeah, he's not a full-fledged wizard yet. He's just an office temp, doing office temp things. And everyone keeps suspecting him of being something he's not. Okay, well, we can stick with that for now. I mean, it definitely looks bad next to the 2/2 for 2 with actual abilities, but we can fix that later. Yeah. Okay, normal anarchist. I mean, we did that one, right? Oh, I guess we need the flavor text for it. OSB. What about OSB? Let's see, green, we did... We got this guy. Or we have... the Mystic of OSB. He's making a joke about giving the office temp the OSB creature type. Oh, gotcha. Oh, just as the quote. Oh, you're saying that OSB is the person who's saying that. Gotcha. Green could be a totally normal mutant monster. I see nothing wrong. Well, it can't be. It's not a mutant because it doesn't have the ability shifting and the stats shifting. It's just a whole thing. But no, it could be. Yeah. Usual sort of monster. I like that better, yeah. Totally normal dinosaur that happens to be a 6/6 trampler for 4 green. Beast, maybe? I mean, there's probably going to be a dinosaur here in the case file, right? But I don't know if it's an actual normal creature for this world. Beast dinosaur? I think it would be maybe dinosaur beast if we were going to go to that length. Or we could just make it a dinosaur if we want. If people prefer that. Ordinary pet. All right, hold on. Let me look up synonyms for normal. Typical. Regular. It was more of a joke than anything. Okay, I wasn't sure. Typical pet. It was so cute and tiny when it was young. What, you don't have stegosauruses as pets where you come from? Green gets cats. It could be a cat creature type. True. I mean, this would be a massive cat. It's been titanic growth or colossification. Well, we do have giant, like, mutant creatures. The one, but those are probably actually mutant types. So, like our colossal caterpillar. His name is Rex. That's funny. It's a dinosaur. Okay. Excellent. His name is Mr. Snugglerix. All right. We got our perfectly normal creatures. It's just fine. There's nothing really that interesting to say about them. They're just creatures. All right. So we were working on perfectly normal. Oh, we weren't even working on that at the time. We were working on. We were working on this, and we got sidetracked. What does Unholy Indenture say? Under your control. So you could steal an opponent's creature with this. That's 3 mana. But it does get a +1/+1 counter, which is a nice buff. PNC's name is not right in its rules text. Thank you. There we go. All right, you say maybe it's cheaper, so you can have it come back tapped, like Kaya's Ghost Form. Kaya's Ghost Form. Oh, not like Kaya's Ghost Form. I just assumed that. Kaya's Ghost Form is another card to compare it to. Of course, Kaya's Ghost Form is probably the best version of that card. I guess it can only enchant your stuff. So, yeah. Return to the battlefield. Tapped under your control. 2 mana. Yeah, no, that's fair. I just assumed that that's what you meant. Yeah, this seems reasonable. It does what you need it to. It's another way of cheating on your undercover spells on the back end. Minion's Return is probably my favorite one, but that's uncommon. Oops. Ah, yes. From Theros Beyond Death. Flash. 3 mana flash, and can enchant any of them. Yeah, that one's pretty cool. There's also a couple of instants, but that I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, they do have it. Malakir Rebirth. Is that the one that's a modal dual face card? Yeah, uncommon. 1 mana instant. You lose 2 life, and it comes back. It's like, I think it's Gruesome Encore. Nope, that's a different one. Too many cards. I don't remember. There was a common one that they used several times recently. But yeah, instants, pretty good. I think because of how strong it gets in this set specifically with Undercover, sorcery speed makes more sense, at least at common. So I don't think this needs to be particularly more exciting than it is. Gets the job done. Okay, so this should maybe evoke the feeling of you thought you killed the monster, but it's back and it's stronger. And you didn't make sure it was dead. Didn't see it die. If you didn't see it happen. That's not a very good name. But it's the feeling that I'm thinking of. Never found the body. Thank you. Enchanted creature has Undying. Oops. Why did I put a period? I mean, Undying makes perfect sense. It's just that it is a mechanic that we're not focusing on in our set. So we could put it in the case file. In fact... Oh, Undying doesn't steal. So if you put it on an opponent's creature, you wouldn't get the thing. But Undying is definitely a mechanic we need to have in the case files, right? Undying. I'll mark that down. Double tap. Yeah, double tap is what I was thinking. But the thing about this is you're not double tapping. That's the whole point. That's why it's coming back. But yeah, never found the body. That makes sense. Double tap is a red spell. Single tap. And the flavor text says, always double tap. Yeah, I still haven't seen Zombieland. I came close a couple times, but I just still haven't seen it. I might want to do that at some point. Always shoot it twice. Extra hearts. That's maybe a little too video gamey. Okay, I mean, that seems like a pretty solid design here. We should attribute that quote. Sure. To whom? Always should not be in italics. Oh. Always shoot it twice. I mean, like the monster has 2 or 3 hearts for redundancy. Gotcha. Redundant vital organs. I don't know. What do you think? Veteran, thank you. They're lecturing one of the newbies. Okay. So we need some kind of raise dead effect. Agent Coulson. Yeah, you got me. And we need another non-creature. And 1, 2, 3 more creatures. Okay. So raise dead effect. Simple enough. That one of the kill spells should be the hapless newbie that thought he killed it. Okay. So, apprentice field agent. I guess this one makes the most sense. Put that on a red spell. Yeah. It doesn't quite fit exacting research. I agree. That's why I didn't want to choose it, but it was the best option of these. Could be Purging Flame. Or it could be the Big Burn. Other burn. Makes sense with Undercover 2. It does. It does. You kill them once, and then, nope, they're back. Whew. Needs the I got it as well. Name should be flavored as the creature doing the killing. Creature doing the killing. Oh. Like the creature that was on the other card? Are redundant vital organs? Because it got back up and ate him. Oh, we can decide the effect later, but that flavor text is perfect. I'm not sure which creature you like. I assume Gunblade, the creature that he thought that he killed. The joke is it's because it got back up and ate him. The joke is it survived that. Yeah. Right. So the damage of the card is it killing Cole. Right. Oh. I see. Okay, now I see what you're saying. But wouldn't it make more sense if in this story, Cole does the killing with this burn spell, whatever fire, whatever he wants to use, and he's like, ah, I got him, he's dead. But the thing had the redundant vital organs or whatever, and now it's coming back, and now it'll come for him. And I guess we could make a different black, or like some kill spell where the creature is killing him. I don't know. I figured this one made more sense in story as being the monster getting killed the first time. But all it took was one shot. That's not a bad one. I mean, I think it's like the no way it survived that. It's very on the nose. So it feels like, I mean, the whole point is kind of that it's a joke, but I don't know. It feels like we could be a bit subtler, but anyhow, it's probably not a big deal. Can we have Cole be an uncommon legendary creature, give him a death effect or a sacrifice ability? It's very on the nose, but that is the joke. That's fair. Yes, I like that. So he's probably white, or I guess, I mean, if he's on a red card using red damage to kill something, it could be red. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's probably impetuous and foolhardy, like a red dude would be. What if he's like... What if he's like a 2/2 for 1? So he's like really good, but he also just like gets murdered. Like whenever something happens, sacrifice, dude. So like whenever an opponent, blocks it, or he gets blocked, or an opponent plays a monster creature or something. Creature with mana value 3 or greater enters the battle. Oh, there we go. Creature? Greater? ETV? No. And then he can have haste. And they're wary, but he just dies. That's kind of cool. I'm sorry, it's kind of cool. That is interesting. So he won't die to morphs. Should he have a particular epithet? Probably. Should have double tapped. He will trade with them. Yes, he'll trade with them and then die. I like this. This is cool. This is a cool design. pretty funny. I like how this silly little story has brought us down a rabbit hole. It's brought us a couple interesting card designs. Thus ends the story of Cole, impetuous agent. You should have shot it twice. Then, of course, we'll also need Tamron, who's like a white or blue rare agent who does not die and is able to... probably white if he's able to kill stuff. Rare. Right, white rare with an ability to become indestructible. Beautiful. Or an anti-undercover ability. Anti-undercover would make some sense. Give it double strike. He lived because he double tapped. Beautiful. I love it. Whenever a creature is put into exile from the battlefield, put that card into its owner's graveyard. That's cool. Undercover is like Adventure, where the Adventure is always being played as a 2/2 for 3. And the back half of the card, or I guess the main part of the card that's not the Adventure, doesn't have to be a creature. It could be an instant or sorcery or whatever. Does Undercover go directly to exile or hit the grave first? That's a good question. Where is it? There we go. If it would die, exile it face down without revealing it instead. It goes directly to exile. So then this is kind of it's a replacement effect that hits a replacement effect, so that is a bit weird. Oh, the reprint does not work. You're right, doesn't it? If that creature dealt damage this way, would die this turn, exile it instead. Yeah, it's 2 replacement effects. One is yours, one would be the opponent's. I'm not sure which one takes precedence. I don't know. But if it doesn't work the way you want it to, then that would be a reason not to reprint that card. But I think we already have a reason, which is that we made a different card for that slot. The controller of the creature gets to choose which takes precedence, in which case it wouldn't work the way you want. Besides, they both go into exile. It's a good point. I guess if it gets exiled with Pillar of Flame, can you cast it? I thought it was a good fit. It's not, and we have a different card for this slot anyway, so it just makes it a bit confusing. So, make Tamarin a trigger. Oh, it currently is a trigger, but it doesn't make sense. So I can either make it fully static, or I can make it actually a trigger. Whenever a creature card is put into exile from the battlefield, put that card into its owner's graveyard. Whoops, which is okay. It makes it clearer, and yeah, cool. I can't just remove instead because I put the words would be, and anytime you use would be, it combos with instead. So warrior, maybe soldier. It's a bit nebulous. One of the two. Oh, is this going to be the 2/2 double strike for 3? Every set needs one, right? Make it a 1/3 double strike so we could trade it with morphs without dying. 2/2 does that, though. Soldier, gotta have one so we can kill Raphael. Raphael. Is this a TMNT reference? Because I'll be honest, I don't really know TMNT. But, I mean, if we just want the normal 2/2 for 3 double striker. Oh, he's a guy from my store. Oh. Okay. I think we mentioned previously that I can't incite violence on this platform. I probably can't condone it either. So, maybe he's died to every 2/2 double strike printed since, like, Invasion. Oh, okay, gotcha. I see what you're saying. So what, he just, like, hates... Oh, yeah, game violence is fine. yeah, cool. I wasn't sure what we were talking about. I was like, I don't know who this Raphael is. Oh, he's a guy I know. And you're talking about killing him. Okay, cool. Cool. 2/2 double strike is pretty good. I mean, I always loved them. Particularly when I was a new player. Now I'm a bit less enamored with them. But they also haven't printed as many 2/2 double strikers for 3 lately. All right, cool. Where were we? Okay. So... This all started when we made redundant vital organs. Cool. Yeah, so we got that. We need a Raise Dead effect. So probably a sorcery that returns 1 or 2 creatures from your graveyard to your hand. Pretty simple. If it returns 1, it probably costs about 1 mana, or 2 if it has another slight upside. Wait, is Ozb the Face Stealer? I mean, that's what he currently is. He doesn't have to be. Doesn't seem correct. Yeah, I don't know. I just stuck his name on. He's a guy that the cultists worship. That's all I know. He's one scary boy. But he doesn't have to be. I don't care too much. He is, but the Face Taker's not that guy. Sure. Whatever. Whatever, man. I mean, I honestly don't really know who Ozb is. he's one scary boy. He's the guy the cultists worship, I guess. That's about all I know of him. So I figured he could be pretty much anybody. So when we made a Black Legend, I just stuck that on there. He's a Black Mythic, I feel. Yeah, that probably makes sense. If he's as important as we're making him out to be. All right. Raised Dead, or a multicolor mythic. Yeah. Probably has some black to him at the very least. Or does OSP stand for stuff? Yeah, OSP stands for one scary boy. Because when we made this card, it was like a cultist, so we were like, Mystic of one scary boy. That's what I put. And then they were just like, oh, just shorten it to OSP. Sorry. Yes. BOI, boy. Shh, don't speak his name. Sorry. The Dark Lord. OSP could be a morph creature himself. Ooh. Okay. I think we're moving quickly into let's design OSP territory. Osp could be a morph creature himself. So, oh, sorry, I said that already. Horror Wizard. So what's the TLDR? Oh, well, so far we've... allegedly we've been designing black commons. In practice, we've been designing whatever we feel like. Come up with a few interesting things. How was FNM? Did you get some pretty sweet stuff in your draft? No mana cost, undercover with when it becomes exiled, returns to the battlefield. So it would be a 3 mana 2/2 that just won't go away. Base it on Scornful Egotist. Oh, what if this is... Obviously, it's a 6/6 Flample on the front face. Oh, obviously. Of course. Oh, returns to the battlefield, not face down. So it would be face up. Right. Oh, man. 6/6 Flample, you say? That would be real strong for it to just come back when it dies. Oops. Let's see. Undercover with when it becomes... Well, only when it's exiled. Right, but it'll be exiled when it dies because it's undercover, right? It's fine. The store doesn't do F&M draft, so I just played Commander. Oh, that's well, I say it's unfortunate because I like drafting, but Commander's pretty good too. Comes back face. Right. Yeah. I figured that part out eventually. What I'm saying is, it's still really strong to have a 2/2 for 3, and when it dies, it turns into a 6/6 flying trample. Because you're just completely circumventing the cost. Yeah, it's a mythic. That doesn't necessarily excuse every power level discrepancy. Yeah, what about the other way around? It has undercover. When it dies while face up, you can bring it back as a 2/2. I like that idea. It gets to be one scary boy. I mean, Asmore is a 3/3 for 1. Yeah, but I think there's a difference between a 3/3 for 1 and a 6/6 flying trample for 3. That's what we're considering. I think the answer is yes. Or do you have to reanimate it? No, I think... Yeah, because if we want undercover to work, there has to be a way to cast it. Unless, of course, we did go with this ability, which I don't, like I said, I don't really like. I do like Mekmoose's suggestion. I'm not sure if I need to specify while face up. Yeah, Death Mist Raptor. Everybody likes Death Mist Raptor. More akin to the Phoenix, since undercover doesn't die anyway. Dies. You're right. It says if it would die, exile it face down without revealing it instead. Alright. And then when it dies, return it to the battlefield face down. Okay. So, still impossible to kill, but... Not impossible. Difficult to kill. But you do have to pay for the privilege. Yeah, I didn't think so. I don't know. Okay, so now stay with me here. This could be a thing that we slap 13 on. And that way, in combination with our rare, who's the face taker, now, I mean, obviously it wouldn't still be a 6/6 flying trampler. We would need to give it more abilities that make it worth paying 14 mana. But I mean, at that point, it's possible that you kind of just have to have this guy, the face taker, in order to actually even be able to play it. So maybe that's unfortunate. Yeah, so it's a 6/6 flying trampler for 6, which is, of course, quite good. Not a mythic, but good. And then it dies and comes back as a 2/2. Alternatively, you could play it as a 2/2 in the first place, and when it dies, it can come back as a 6/6. I mean, this guy's really hard to kill. I think this is probably mythic status here. I second the 13 to cast guy being a case file. Okay, we can do that. It will need to have undercover, which we can do, just something to be aware of. So undercover would also not just be in the main set, but also the case file. Yeah, you're right, Mekmoose. Making this cost 14 would be real rough on actually being able to play it. Okay. Cool. Everyone happy with this? It doesn't need undercover, just needs to be cast from exile. Oh, you're right. You right, Mech Moves. You're talking about the case file creature. That's a good point. Wait, why does this 13 to cast guy need to be undercover? Okay, so yeah. We made this guy. 3/1 for 3. Exploit. When it exploits a creature, the next spell you cast from exile this turn costs 13 less to cast. Of course, it doesn't let you cast a spell from exile, so you need to have a card that is already available to be cast from exile. And the main set way to do that is, of course, undercover. We made sure that it combos well with the green big common. But I figured it would be perfect to have something that does cost 13 so you can get the full cost reduction. Yeah, there are some Eldrazi that can cast from exile. The only one I can think of is the... Can't think of its name now. It's the 3-drop that they play in Scred. Just a 3/3 for 3. If it would be targeted, exile it, and you can play it from exile. Or we could do a foretell card that costs 13 when foretold. Oh, that's pretty cool. Endless 1. Is it Endless 1? I'll look. I'll see. It is not. Endless 1 is the X. X to put X +1/+1 counters on that Eldrazi. Yeah. Whatever. Yes. Gunblade. Foretell card that costs 13 is a great idea. It's in all the food chain decks. That makes sense, since you can just keep food chain in it. Okay. So, we are happy with OSB. Yeah, do it. I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Okay. Okay, now maybe we can get to our Raise Dead. We do have a draw 2 spell, which is... Where's it at? Don't we? Forbidden Knowledge, yeah. Draw 2 cards, then create a 2/1 black horror creature token. So, draw 2 is kind of like... fills the same mechanical space as drawing 2 creature cards from your discard pile. So that could be a reason for this to just get back 1. The Raise Dead is a black sorcery to return a creature and research. That does make sense. So just Raise Dead, 1 mana, 1 creature is, well, I mean, it's just plain old Raise Dead, raise a creature, no frills is 1 mana. So with getting a research counter, do we make it 2 mana? Is a research counter with a full extra mana? Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If it has undercover, you may put it onto the battlefield face down. Well, in that case, it would be pretty much almost always worth using on an undercover creature. So we'd have to cost it based on the fact that you're going to be able to reanimate this thing. Raise Dead has been power crept multiple times now. So, yeah, you think just 1 mana would be fine? Counter not worth a full extra mana, in my opinion. I think I do like the get a research counter. Could Surveil X, then Raise Dead. Ooh. Gunblade coming in here clutch. That might even be cooler. I don't know if that might be worth an extra mana. Should be Surveil 3 at that point. Is that too much? 2 mana, surveil 2, then return. Seems probably right. I know Watsy has played around with mill onto the battlefield. Yeah. It's mostly like Narcomoeba. It's the main one I can think of, right? Corpse Churn, thank you. I was trying to think of... I knew there was a card similar to it. Okay. Stream is down for Najugo. Anybody else? I haven't received any error notifications, I don't think. Okay. Okay. Nobody else is having trouble. Cool. Yeah, Corpse Churn, so mills 3. Definitely mills 3, then you return 1. And it's an instant for 2 mana. Our card is a sorcery. It only surveils 2, but the fact is, with surveil, you can leave stuff on top if you want. You get to see and make that choice, and that's better than just straight milling 3 random cards. So, do we feel surveil 2 sorcery is right? Would we rather do surveil 2 instant? Surveil 3 sorcery? I guess surveil 3 is pretty good. So what would you guys think of making this an instant? Najugo agrees. This card can safely be an instant if you want. Cool. Yeah, we don't have to push everything to the max power level if we don't want to, but... Concoct was the mill onto the battlefield. Surveil 3, then return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Gotcha. Yep. I see what you're saying. It was a sweet card. Connive Concoct. I liked that. Yeah, I agree. Anything more would have to be a sorcery. But I like it. Shadow of the Foundation. Recover assets. I like that. Feels appropriately technical. Cool. So that leaves us with 1 non-creature and 3 creatures left to design. So at 2 mana, we have a dude that wants to be sacrificed. So it's just a 1/1 for 2. So our other 1 or 2 2-mana creatures should be worth a little bit more. Now it's been mentioned, and it's on my mind, you should have a case file that uses recover. Ooh. We can do that. It's hard. The reason why it's not a successful mechanic is because it's so hard to remember. And then if you don't remember, you just lose the card. But I am on board with it. I'm on board for probably most mechanics. Not banding. We're not doing that. I don't think it works with target creature cards since you need to target as you cast. Oh! Thank you. That's a good call. Where is this? Recover assets. Yeah, Sorceress, it was only in one set, and it wasn't a super good mechanic. I mean, it was a good card. It was a good mechanic, except for the memory issues causing you to just... All right. Then return a creature card. Cool. It was Cold Snap. Which is also famous for Ripple. All right. The opponent doesn't know if you have a better one in the top two, but they can at least remove any already in your graveyard in response. Yes. Assuming that we have cards that do that, which we probably should, huh? Our current remove graveyard is sorcery speed. 5 mana to exile a graveyard and then make 2 2/1s, which is like not a great card, but it seems okay. Eventually fixed into the much better Cascade. Yeah, I mean, Cascade has its own issues, but it is a well-loved mechanic. Dies guy that either mills or exiles from graveyard. Do any of the colors have a vanilla yet? Sorcerers, we added one in white. Because we wanted to remove one of the creatures we had anyway. We do need to work with stats because like these two are clearly... one is just strictly worse than the other at common, which I don't like. But... we also have a bunch of perfectly normal creatures. Yeah. Flock of normal birds. Turns into a... bird. It's a bird. It's just... there's nothing wrong with it. Don't worry about it. Yep. 1/5 you're saying for the temp? The temp should be a 1/5? I mean, it could, but then we have to change its mana value, which make it a 2 mana 3/1. Yeah, I mean, the reason I didn't do that, it could be a 1/3. Like a 3/1 feels like it's not just a temp, you know? It feels like it's a guy that's out in the field, getting down and dirty. Oh, we do have a... yeah, we do. Okay, 1/3 for now. It's a 1/3. We can change it later if need be. I mean, obviously 1/3 for 2 is pretty bad. Oh, but... that is not what I'm here to talk about, guys. I am here. I really want to get these black commons done. We keep getting sidetracked. All right. We need a 2 mana value creature, one that's 2 to 3, and one that's 3. And that's it. And also a non-creature. This one might need to be redesigned because currently it can give you more than one research counter, which we decided maybe we don't want. You're saying dies guy that either mills or exiles from graveyard. Okay. It's definitely an option. We already have 2 dies guys, so I don't know if we need more. I mean, enters the battlefield effects are kind of the same thing when it comes to sacrificing creatures. It lets you not necessarily care that the guy is gonna die because you've already gotten the value. I guess it doesn't actively incentivize you to kill him, though. At least this tangent is concerning black commons. So you have a black creature that makes a colorless robot? Death touch creature. Yeah, we don't have a death touch creature. I don't think. I think there's one in green, but not black. Yep, there it is. We don't have a menace creature. That seems pretty important. Reusable surveil effect to dig for cards and fill your grave instead of repeatable research. Okay, okay. Reusable effects do tend to be uncommon or higher, yes. So the way that you cannot make it like that is black does get like sacrifice a creature things at common. If you sacrifice a creature for an effect, you generally can do that repeatably at common, assuming it is a reasonable effect. Okay. If Surveilfish is a common in a supplement set, it can probably be a common with a cost attached. Yeah. That was in Modern Horizons 2? Is that where the fish was? The Surveilfish? I think so. Man, there's so many sets coming out, I can't keep track of everything. Okay. Well, tap, sacrifice a creature. Surveilfish, the starfish. Yeah, I mean, there's the scryfish from Theros. I think in Modern Horizons they made a new version that surveils instead. And it's black. Okay, so Gunblade is saying, yeah, tap, sacrifice a creature to surveil 1. That makes some sense. You could do it at the end step, so you don't have to tap out with this guy. Cool. Got it. Okay. Someone suggested a 2/2 Death Touch for 3. Never a creature that I love, but it's generally playable. So that's one option. We don't have to go with it, but I'm at least jotting it down. We need a menace. Well, we don't need a menace creature, but generally black wants a menace creature. What's turn effects are generally fine at common since they're only once a turn. That makes sense. So yeah, tapping is definitely another way to make it safe. I mean, I'm thinking like Visceraseer, which I know is a very powerful common, so maybe it's not a very good example. But there's also like that Lampad from Theros Beyond Death. Pay 1, sack a creature to drain for 1. 2/1 Menace plus on hit. Two-one Menace for 2? I don't think they generally give us that. 2/1 Menace for 2, do they? They've done 3/2 Menaces for 3. Generally not with other abilities, so we could make this a little weaker if we wanted to have an on-hit ability. Viscera Seer, but it surveils. I thought about that, and I was like, that is even more broken. Honestly, 3 mana 2/2 or 2/3 menace creatures are pretty common. 2 mana, it'd have to be small. That's what I was thinking. Thank you. How did this get there? This guy deals combat damage to a player. Oh, making a token is also tends to be pretty powerful. Because it's like repeatable creature generation on a common. I mean, if we're gonna do that, we'd have to make this guy pretty weak. We could make him like a 1/2 menace on hit research. We can do that. We talked about making it so that every card that gives you almost pretty much every card that gives you research only gives you 1. And that way it's a much more measured ability. Slow and steady. Classic Alley Strangler. Yeah. Okay. Do we have a creature that on ETB kills something that was dealt damage? We do, sorcerers. We have Nightmare Stalker. It's a 2/2 flash for 3 and a black. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature and opponent controls some dealt damage this turn, and it has Undercover. But this could also fail to generate research if the opponent can block it. True. That would make it more balanced. It's not like guaranteed you're going to get one every turn. But it has menace, so they do have to block it with 2 creatures anyway. You know, we don't even necessarily have to make it fun. We could just leave it as an Alley Strangler. Or the other one. Probably some kind of zombie minotaur. I don't remember. While it's a bit dull, not every card has to necessarily be super exciting. I guess, are there any black themes that we haven't done too much with yet? We've definitely done research. We've definitely done some undercover stuff. We've definitely done exploit, like sacrificing and stuff. So we just need to make sure that we have some aggro creatures for the black-red and probably black-white themes. He could give another attacking creature menace. But I think we have a similar effect in blue with flying. We do. 4/1 menace for 3. Ooh. I mean, that's thinking outside the box. Where did I put it? It does feel a bit sketchy. Because they need those creatures to have a total of 5 toughness in order to be able to survive. Which is not impossible by any means, but it's also not a given. To menace, exploit to get a +1/+1 counter. That's not bad. How many doubles? I was reading the exploit comment. How many exploit triggers do we have? 1? 2? We have 2. Rare that doubles exploit triggers. Yes! You are actually not the first person to mention that. Black, probably, right? Obviously, that's not how it will be worded. I'm just noting this for later. It should just double sack triggers. All right. So we have 2 exploit creatures, but also other sacrifice triggers. Yeah, I feel like we have enough exploit. So the question is, do we, if we want, I mean, we could put in more, but we might want to remove something else, to make room. Because we don't want literally everything to be straight up cut and dry goes into this deck. We need some just generic cards that maybe aren't exciting, but they do the job. And Boring Menace creature can do that. I mean, 4/1 is definitely unconventional. Seems a bit strong for common, but we can also try it. It also dies real easily. I think 4/1 Menace is weird and wacky. It is weird and wacky, and that is what we're going for. So you're pushing the right buttons here. It does help the aggro theme, which hasn't got a huge amount yet. It's a good point. Okay, let's make our 2-drop aggressive. This one, exploit, get counters, pretty basic. Yes, but we do have pretty much the same card in white. Was one of the, things that I felt comfortable making white sacrifice other creatures for. I will caution, I distinctly recall a 4-mana, 4/2 Menace being playable in M19 Limited. Yeah. I remember that card. I didn't play a lot of M19 Limited. Exploit to drain 2. Yep, sorcerers, we got you covered. It is this one. Extractor of Screams. 4/2 for 4. Exploit. When it exploits a creature, target creature loses 2 life. If you have 3 or more research counters, that player loses 5 life. 2 mana 3/3. As long as a creature died this turn, it has haste. Probably not uncommon. Yeah, black doesn't tend to get 2 mana 3/3s. Usually not even at higher rarities. So this feels more like a green card. Two mana 3/3, no downside. In common? In black? It feels... I mean, I'm trying to make it feel weird, but that just feels wrong. The beginning of your end step, lose a life unless you have 3 research. Okay. Okay. We do not have anything with lifelink. At least not in black. Okay. Sorcerers is suggesting exploit to make a 2/2. That could maybe be a 2/3. Are we talking about this guy? This guy could be a 2/3. 2 mana, 1/1 flying lifelink. Pretty basic. Yeah. Yeah, that works at common. At least they have done it before. It's not as aggressive, but it is evasive, which does help raid if you were going with black red raid or even black green. Okay. I'm seeing a lot of ideas thrown around. I'm not sure that there's a lot sticking. Like, a lot of these I just feel bleh about. Not the lower ones, most of these middle ones. That one's good. So aggressive 2-drop. Ghastly Gloom Hunter is a common. I think I know which card that is. That is what I thought. Yep, thank you. That works. Yep, absolutely fine then. That's how I feel about most commons. Yeah, Gunblade, but sometimes, I don't know. I generally don't feel this rough about them. I will say the lose 2 life one feels like it has a lot of text for a common. Does it? Oh, not this one. I was like, this is only 3 lines of text. Yeah, it sure does. I mean, and we could move it to uncommon, and we could have more space for a different exploit thing at common if people want. 2 mana 3/2 can't block. Well, with a 2 mana 3/2, why would you want to? Look, you can't block with it. Which may make you say, well, why does it have 3 toughness? Well, because that means it can attack through morphs. We can have red flagged commons. Not every common needs to be short, and it's a good effect to have. Not every common needs to be short. No, it's just a question of, is this the most important effect that we could have? Well, at least for me, it's a question of, we only have room for so many exploit effects in common in black. So is this one of the most important ones we could do? 3/2 with no evasion is pretty bad in this set. 2/3 makes way more sense. I agree. Okay. Not exciting, but fine. Okay. Here. I think the Dissector should maybe be a 1/3. Yeah? Oh, yeah, I mean, if we're making a different 2/3, that's fine. Changing up the stats a little bit. And this guy is more defensive, so he doesn't necessarily need as much power. I tend to think that the best commons are ones with shorter effects that are relevant to the set's themes. I agree. You mean like desaturate? Okay, moving on. This one, I just never like the 2/2 for 3 Death Touchers. It's not a bad card. It just feels bad to me when I could get a 1 mana 1/1 Death Toucher and have it do the same thing. Okay, so did we end up with our menace creature? We did end up with a menace creature. It's a little potentially strong. I don't think length has any bearing on how well a card helps the set's themes. Accepting that too long is a valid issue. I think the best commons are the ones with the free sacrifice outlet. Ooh, I agree. Okay. Maybe I do too, and I just don't want to say that I think the card is bad. They print it relatively often, and I generally find it's playable. But I never necessarily feel happy about playing it, I guess. Let's see. Okay, in black, we have our Mind Rot. We have a targeted discard, kind of. We have a Divination type effect. We have a Disentomb. We have Surveil. Okay, so that's most of the card advantage we need. I mean, we could just go with a combat trick. I guess that doesn't help with the creatures. I'm just looking at the whole list. Death Touch plus Lifelink. Can't recall a time I played one that didn't have an additional effect. Maybe we could do that then. Oh, yeah, Yuan-Ti Fangblade was pretty... It's a pretty decent card. That one, I'm happy about playing. We could do Death Touch Lifelink. Generally, you need to be careful about putting Lifelink as an effect with other keywords at common. Because if those keywords help it survive combat, it just like helps you gain potentially ridiculous amounts of life. But on a Death Toucher that you're probably going to trade off anyway, this is fine. I always remember Banehound. It was amazing. I always thought it looked interesting. I don't think I played it very much. Of course, I don't think I played black very often. I mostly played like green in that set. Or blue. I mean, we could put in a second 1-drop creature if we wanted. And have it be Banehound even, reprint or, functional reprint. That would give black another aggressive creature. This one is still more of a defensive card. This one's more aggressive. At 2 mana. Okay. I mean, I don't hate this one, right? So I'm kind of happy with it. You could make this a flash creature without Death Touch, but some other ability. True, we do already have the flash destroy target creature that was dealt damage. That doesn't mean we can't do more, but it would be something to consider if we didn't want 2 of them. Okay. Right, okay, neat. There's the flash creature. Good enough for me. Cool. So, this one I'm not super excited about. Like, it's kind of cool. I don't think it's bad. It's better than the 2/2 for 3 Death Toucher. Oh, we do need a flyer, don't we? Can we just give this flying? Yeah. We do. It doesn't always. It usually gets 1. Urd could probably get flying. Ah, unconditional removal, dude. That's not too much with also having exploit and the exploit trigger. I guess they had commons that had that with flying in Dragons of Tarkir. So I mentioned the 1/1 flying Death Touch earlier on, but it didn't stick. I thought you mentioned 1/1 flying Lifelinker. 1/1 flying Death Touch is interesting. Probably not necessary. I mean, it is 6 mana. That's true, but I mean, at that point, we do probably need to weaken it a little bit. Toughness-wise, maybe. Well, we could do that. You're good, Mech Moose. I mean, either way, not a bad thought. I guess it just feels more like a 1 mana creature. Or 2 mana. I guess it could be 2 mana. I do kind of like this one, though. And we didn't make a third 2-drop, so. Compare Loathsome Curator. Well, Loathsome Curator. Loathsome. Is, first of all, a common in a supplemental set, which you can never necessarily use as a great comparison for a common in a normal set. Second, when we exploit, we can destroy any creature, not just mana value 3 or less. So it does cost 1 more mana, and it's a 3/3 instead of a 5/4 menace. Interesting. Exploit comes before the ability word. So this would go here. But Loathsome Curator was a pretty good common. I'll give it that. I played a lot of those during the, like, 2 drafts I was able to do. Okay. So we have a flyer. We have 2 exploit creatures. We have our menace. Still worried about this one. Surveil. Death Touch, Lifelinker. Can't block. Okay. So overall, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you're right. Never mind. It's perfectly normal. Lastly, we need another non-creature spell. And personally, I think we need a combat trick. Black usually gets something along the lines of either bring back a creature that died or that creature gets indestructible. But we already had that with Redundant Vital Organs. So if it doesn't get that, it'll usually get like maybe Lifelink plus some power. Make the last non-creature a 5 mana value reanimator spell. Do we have or want just a basic drain spell? No, we do not have one. Whether we want one, I don't know. Usually people don't like just straight up drain spells, especially at common, because it just takes up a lot of space and they don't affect the board state. Combat tricks make sense. I find that people tend to not want to put them in the set because they tend to not be that exciting, but I think that they are important, so I want to make sure that they get in the set. Burn is good in black-red aggro. We could do we could do a drain spell for that deck. Sorcerers, I don't dislike the reanimator spell option, but we also don't. We have some surveil. So that would be the extent of our graveyard theme. Why put surveil in a set if you're not going to interact with it? So 3 mana, 2 damage to any target, gain 2. If it's 2 damage to any target, that's sort of hitting on conditional removal, right? I think a combat trick is totally fine, especially with raid. That's a good point. Alchemist's Gift could be a decent reprint or something of the like. Let me take a look at what that does. Oh, +1/+1, and your choice of Death Touch or Lifelink until end of turn. That's kind of cool. The reanimating spell was to work with Surveil and Exploit. No, you raise a good point. Maybe we can find room for both. I mean, honestly, this is kind of... I mean, you did suggest Reanimator for this slot, so... But this is kind of where it would go, right? Instead of a Raise Dead, it would be a Raise Dead. Okay, so we do need a combat trick. At least I think we do. Instant. Target creature gets plus. We could either be more aggressive. A lot of the black instant combat tricks give like +2/+0. But I do kind of like the idea of +1/+1. Because it might... Giving toughness could help survive the 2/2s. It would allow you to use the combat trick on your X2 to survive a morph. Could easily have a reanimating spell at uncommon, though. Would probably be more playable there. Yeah, I want to make sure that since we did put Surveil in the set, that we do have some payoffs for cards that are in your graveyard. So that there's a point instead of just the flavor. +1/+1. I've done multiple sets with both a Raise Dead and Rise Again. I mean, sure. The question is just, can we fit that? We would have to cut another spell. And what I'm saying is that it seems like the most likely cut for us would be... well, this one, because it is sort of the same thing. I mean, I guess we could cut... Mind Rot isn't necessary at common. I'm not necessarily hugely on board with this spell, but it would still probably need to be a different removal spell. We can make a reanimate at uncommon. Yeah, sure. Oh, I mean, we could just straight up do Alchemist's Gift. It's probably a little less in flavor on this world, so maybe not that. What do we want it to gain? I mean, it could just be like lifelink. I can spell. There we go. +1/+1 on lifelink. Is that bad? Oh, you know what's weird though? You could get like +2/+1. That's a weird combat trick, right? Maybe that's not too weird. Combat tricks don't always have square stats, so it's probably not a big deal. How about your choice of +2/+2 or lifelink and death touch? Interesting. Ah, I thought I was... Choose one. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Target creature gains death touch and lifelink until end of turn. Infect. Save that for the case file. Oh, I mean, gotta love that infect. Okay. Does black get +2/+2 for a single mana? Color black. Rarity common. Type instant. Oh, target creature. Format, I don't know, Pioneer. Keep it recent. it can get +2/+1. You can get +2/+0. Oh, sorry, yeah. Mana value equals 1. Lash of Malice gives +2/-2. All right. It does not. Looks like Black does not get +2/+2 for a single mana. And with the versatility, we could make this cost 2 mana, or we could just decrease the power toughness boost. Use that one Shadows block trick that was +3/+1 and lifelink if you want something that feels off. What was that? Butcher's Glee? No, that was from one of the Tarkirs. +1, 3, +1. Grotesque Mutation. I mean, that makes sense with the set, doesn't it? That would just be a straight up... We could either reprint, or we could... Let's see. Needs second... Oh, thank you. +1/+2 would make even a 1/1 survive blocking an undercover creature. Good point. Sorcerers is suggesting Grotesque Mutation as just our combat trick, which does feel off. Mechmoose is saying +0/+2 in Death Touch, or +2/+0 in Lifelink. Oh, Mechmoose, that might be a winner. Yeah, I mean, I like Grotesque Mutation. I think it would be a fine pick, but I really like this design. Target creature gets +2/+0, and no +0/+2, and gains a Death Touch. Probably 2 mana. Either mode would be 1 mana, but I think having access to both makes it worth 2. That's cool. Yeah. Second mode helps you survive and kill morphs, or, I mean, really anything. Gives you 2 more toughness to survive their attack, and, Death Touch, so that if your thing has any power, the opponent's creature dies. And then if you just need some life, or a bit of more power to kill something, boom. This is a cool design, Mechmoose. Oh, I also have an uncommon from one of my sets I want to propose for this. Let me find it. Cool. All right. Rip Cole. Reprint funeral rites with Cole's tombstone. It's funny. Here lies Cole. He just wasn't smart enough. All right. All right. This will be the last card I look at tonight, because I have really gonna get going soon. So, oh, Interesting. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield face down, so you reanimate it for 2 mana. It's a 2/2 creature. So if it has undercover, it follows the undercover rules where when it dies, you can. That's really cool. I think that's a great design. I mean, shoot, I can put that in as an uncommon right now. Reprint, but not a real reprint. There we go. That seems really cool. Assuming that it does work, as I think it does, where an undercover creature just gets brought back still as an undercover creature, not a morph creature. I mean, they're kind of the same on the front face. There's your reanimation slot at uncommon. Yeah, I think that's a really cool design. And it gives a bit of an extra layer of strategy to surveil, which is if you have a null revival in your deck, well, maybe you just want to put your undercover creatures into the graveyard. Yes, I assume that you would propose it as though it does. I think rules-wise, logistically, I mean, they don't have abilities that make 2/2 face-down creatures aside from morph, like mechanics. But if they did, I'm pretty sure that this would still work because it would return them face down as a 2/2 creature. That's all the same as any other 2/2 face down creature. But the fact that the creature has morph undercover, when it dies, that is what makes it go to exile. Just the fact that it has undercover on the front face, which I understand is not necessarily in play. It's definitely confusing, but we can just say it works. Do you want the Mass Reanimator version at 6? Nameless Uprising. Ah, that's cool. Morphs can still flip up while manifested instead of morph. That's a good point. I mean, this one is morph-centric. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that we want both. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I am really excited about the uncommon one. Whew. Goes from a public zone if revealed, so you know it has undercover. Yeah, and like when you do null revival the creature, like you have to target a creature card that's in your graveyard, which means you can prove at the time of playing it that it has undercover, which of course does not actually track with the rules like that wouldn't. But anyhow, logistically, it does work. Yeah, probably just null revival. I mean, we could always rename the Nameless Uprising to, or reword it to work specifically with undercover. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. Guys, I gotta get going. But thankfully, we did make it through all of the Black Commons. It wasn't necessarily pretty. It'll probably need some updating later, but we have a first draft, and that is what is important. I do really like this spell. That was a good suggestion from Mechmoose. So, I guess at some point this week, I really need to put what we have so far up in a public place, probably Magic Multiverse, so that everyone else can start looking at it. And we made some other cool cards, like Osmond Cole. Yeah, let's just show off Cole. I don't think that Sorcerers was here yet. So we had a whole thing, a little mini story told through 3 or 4 cards that about a veteran agent and a young junior agent, and the junior agent kills a thing and thinks he's killed it, and oh, surprise, it's not dead. It comes back and kills him, and veteran agent is like, always shoot twice. I can put it up on Plane Sculptors. I'm more used to Magic Multiverse, but I can put it up on Plane Sculptors. It's probably going to be easier to do Plane Sculptors because I don't have to make all the cards manually. So that's probably actually the better call. I just always think of the other one because that's what I used to use more. So, is a little guy. It's a 2/2 for 1 haste, which is obviously quite good. But whenever a creature with mana value 3 or more enters the battlefield, Cole gets killed. So, it's pretty cool. I like it. Yep, and we got Osb, the Great and Powerful. He will not actually be called that, but... Yeah, I just love Multiverse for its ability to like organize and track various types of cards. So I really do like to have it up on there, but it is a lot more work. Yes, and the bird spell that has Cole's quote talking about how it probably, yeah. There we go. Got it. No way it survived that. Spoilers, it did. But thank you all for coming. Everybody for pitching in. I really appreciate everything that we got done tonight. We got a bunch of stuff done, even if it took a while to get through what I wanted to. So I appreciate all your suggestions. We came up with some cool stuff. And we'll be back next week to work on red commons. Have a good night, everybody.